atmosphere. Metro as a series excels at atmosphere and immersion. It has mastered moments of quiet time that stand out and stick with you just as much, if not more, than some of the most engaging and well-designed set pieces in the series. It can place you in a dark corridor and make dread seep its roots into your brain. But in the same Metro, there's a very similar dark corridor, just a couple hundred meters away, that will make your heart pound with quiet determination. Ruined metro stations surrounded by thousands of pounds of concrete feel more or less like home. Yet cozy lakeside cabins with gorgeous views turn to hotbeds of greed, betrayal, and destruction. So for the game to be lifted from its traditional flat screen format and be translated into a VR game could completely overhaul the entire experience and feeling of playing a Metro game, for better and for worse. Let's look at a really small piece of the pie first before we go over some major stuff, like looting, for instance. In looting in Metro Exodus, you just kind of walk over to a cabinet you see, you press E, square, X, whatever, and it swings open, right? And then you press the same button again to pick the object up. I'm not saying this is a bad method. If anything, this is the best method of object interaction and item pickup that Metro could use. It certainly would not fit as well if Metro had the old Doom 1993 patented face vacuum method where you just walk over something and you go and it's just in your inventory now. As loot needs a lot of emphasis, you need to really know what you're picking up in Metro because everything counts. If you are looking for that gas mask, that last filter, because you have like 20 seconds left, you can't, it's gonna ruin all the tension of the scene if you just walk across the room and pick everything up because you're a magnet boy. You know, like stuff like that is a really intentional decision that no one really thinks about. And VR could add even more spice to that kind of equation because you're not pressing a button anymore. Those are your physical hands, man. And your physical hands are your physical hands. You are not perfect. And it gives all this more emphasis to literally everything you pick up. Because in a game where every bullet has a physical cost to it, physical, like market value cost, everything you pick up is going to be that much more valuable. And that experience of picking it up will be that much more meaningful. Like little stuff like that would make the game so much more immersive. But VR is not the end-all be-all of game design. And that's because VR is just another way of doing things. And like everything else, if you find another way of doing things, then there's going to be upsides and downsides. Certain things it absolutely succeeds at, and certain things that are very hard to make even bearable. Instead of devices designed to carry people and things from one place to another in VR, vehicles are now just interstellar, industrialized puke producers. And long-range combat does not feel like sniper battles. It feels like you're throwing railroad spikes at a penny-sized dartboard at the National Convention for Parkinson's. And it's hard to do narrative stuff because you can't do cutscenes, because that camera for the cutscene is always going to be attached to your player's head. And players don't like it when you take their head and move it around. It really does just bring a shit ton of new different challenges to game design. Like at what point in the last 40 years of game development history has a game designer had to worry about a physical condition of the player? Like, let's get a guy, give him a controller, right? Push left and right stick and make him look at a TV. No matter his sensitivity, FOV, or DPI, he's not going to throw up. But the second you plop him in a headset, put it on his face, push left on the turn stick just a tiniest bit, he'll make the world's greatest Niagara Falls impression. So all these challenges of VR really made me so curious about Metro Awakening. If it was developed by the original studio, 4A Games, I'd be a bit more optimistic about this. But due to current events, it's being developed by a completely different studio, Vertigo Games. A studio, for as far as I know, does not have any prior experience with Metro, so I was kind of worried. I mean, they've worked on plenty of VR stuff, but none of those are really Metro, you know? Sure, some of them are post-apocalyptic, but that's not Metro. It's like saying Discworld is just fantasy. It's I mean, yeah. Kinda. So how does this game fare with the new direction and new studio? Does it live up to the rest of the Metro series, or does it get lost in translation? I don't fucking know. I haven't actually played the game yet. I'm gonna go actually do that shit right now. Let me boot it up. Well, that was educational. I mean, it wasn't bad by any means. If anything, it was surprisingly good. But there's some really major things we gotta talk about. And the first of those is... Metro, being a first-person shooter franchise, naturally has a lot of first-person shooting in it. You know, a lot of So Metro Awakening, as a first-person shooter game in a first-person shooter franchise, would have lived or died based on how it handled guns. One very big important thing to me in VR, especially, is manual is essentially reloading the gun by using the physical implements on the gun in the game. Like, the weapon is fully rigged and fully functional. You, like, physically reload it with your hands, you know? It's your hand that takes out the magazine and puts in a new one and then rechambers around. That's you. A couple examples of games that do this are games like Half-Life Alyx, Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades, and Pavlov. The automatic cam is essentially just you press the button on the hand that's holding the gun, and then the gun reloads itself. This works perfectly fine when you're not in VR. In all fairness, using the same method that worked on flat screen games and just putting it into VR sounds good on paper. Like how inventing a new quote-unquote universal measurement system sounds good on paper. The thing is, it doesn't work because you are holding the object, and if you're holding the object, why can't you also be the one manipulating it? So these automatic method games feel like they're just not taking advantage of the medium, because they aren't. Some of the best things that VR can do is a lot of just individual object stuff, you know? And especially when reloading is as engaging as it is in VR, if you do it the Bond way, it feels like you're just not really caring at all. And I feel that way every time I reload the gun. And if I'm playing a first-person shooter where I reload the gun a lot, I'm gonna be reminded that you don't care about the game a lot. And look, devs, I hear you. This sounds like it's a lot more work than doing an actual animation. Like modeling a gun and making it so the player can reload in any way that they want, and rigging and everything really sounds like a lot of work, and might not be worth the effort because you have level design and a whole bunch of more important things to focus on. But either way, even if you're doing animation, you still need to rig the gun. So, in an automatic method kind of way of doing in VR games, you'd have to rig it and then animate it. But if you're doing the manual method, the genius is all you have to do is make the parts move and rig it. And that's it. and the players do the rest of the work for you every time they reload. All of this to say, thank God Metro Awakening is the manual method of reloading guns. Because in all honesty, if it fell into the automatic group, I, and potentially many other players, would have probably dropped the game immediately. Because there's just a lot of charm in just the way Metro handles their makeshift firearms, because they make them believably stupid. Like this is the shit they got Shinzo Abe with. And yet it fits so well in such a decrepit, decaying setting. And being able to physically interact with them and actually use them in VR could really elevate this game. Thankfully, Metro Awakening avoids this massive pitfall. So it makes me all the more pissed off that people still don't understand basic fucking weapon and enemy variety. Holy shit, we have that figured out in Doom 2. I want you to guess, take a gander, if you will, how many enemy types there are in Metro Awakening. You're fucking wrong. There's 7. It's man with armor, man with RFK Jr. brainworms, rat boy, mole, and spider. That's it. That's all you get, and that's all you're taking. And it is an 8 to 10 hour campaign. Every single human being that isn't in the anti-vax cult uses an APM. There's no big juggernaut guys with excessive heavy weaponry. There's no snipers to pin you down from a distance. There's no close range enforcers. It's just an AK. That's it. There's not nearly enough enemy variety to cover the entire campaign. And guess what? There's only 5 guns in the game. 5! 2 of them do the exact same thing. Except one of them is a cool little crossbow, and one of them is a little fucking spitball thing. It's like a little fucking paper straw. You go, and it does nothing. There's 5 guns. And sorry, 4 guns and a little stick that you carry on your back. That's Look, I don't hate this game. I don't. I really enjoyed it. If I really, really hated the game, like to my bones, I just completely disengage or point and laugh at it and just never bother touching it again after that. If anything, I want more. I want more guns in the game because the weapons in the game are almost, if not, H-free VR quality. They're all modeled gorgeously. Like, there's tons of little details that scream personality, like little modifications, like makeshift grips, and there's different visual differences of them. But there's still only 5. And here's the thing. You could absolutely make a limited weapon pool work. I complain about this game having 5 guns, and it's like 8 to 10 hours, right? Half-Life Alyx has 3, and it's 8 to 10 hours. And it still manages to stretch it out, because it makes them last through progression. You can, upgrade your weapons. And they're not tiny ones, too. We're talking, not just laser sights, we're talking grenade launchers, burst fires, double shot, massive magazine upgrades. That's how Half-Life Alyx makes its gameplay last with such a small weapon variety. And for some reason, Metro Awakening doesn't do this. The pistol you pick up at the beginning of the game will have the exact same stats as the pistol at the ending, except maybe you picked up the suppressed one that you only have 3 bullets for. And even stranger, previous Metro games had this stuff. Like Last Light, you could literally take this double-barrel shotgun and give it another pair of barrels. You could, in Exodus, you can literally just remove your dust cover, because who needs that shit? I don't want it. Get a night vision scope, your little fucking BB gun. Imagine you stick to an MP5K, because you really liked Die Hard, and you really like MP5s. Not that I have anything particular opinions about them at all. And you really like it, so you want to keep using it. So you fight tooth and nail for every attachment, every little scope, every little thing that has a little knob, even diddle and daddle. and then being able to actually hold and operate the damn thing after all the upgrades? Wouldn't that feel great? Hell, it would even completely justify the limited weapons. But like I said before, the game doesn't do this. But the combat, regardless, still absolutely shines in this game. Don't get me wrong, it's a little simple, but simple doesn't mean bad. Every combat encounter in this game asks for more resources of you than what you currently have on you. So every firefight is spent on the back foot, and every shot missed is absolutely felt. You have to constantly pull weapons from fresh corpses. Often some give you barely enough bullets to make the next one. And the second an enemy goes down, you'll find that you will throw yourself at them like Dr. Disrespect at a daycare. Those armored enemies that I mentioned earlier, you don't prioritize them because they have armor and pose a larger threat. You prioritize them because they come with full mags. Even if you have an abundance in one resource, you'll be running on fumes in the other. There are at least several points in the game where I had at least 3 full AK mags, but I was out of vials, out of grenades, out of filters, and out of every other ammo type. And the enemy AI will absolutely take advantage of this. They'll corner flanks, pin you down behind cover, communicate losses and casualties, and when they get an upper hand, they will absolutely take advantage of it. But that's in combat. In stealth, they're dumber than Oblivion NPCs, even dumber than Adoring Fan. But that's when you're fighting humans in direct combat. When you're fighting mutants, it's a very different story. Mainly, first of all, because you'll hate it. Not in the sense that it's unfun, unfair, or not well designed. It's the fact that it's too well designed. You do not enjoy fighting them because they don't give you anything in return. You're not gonna kill an evil fucking rat dog thing and grab an AK mag off its body. Because it's an evil fucking rat dog thing. It ain't got no AK. But what it will do, and what it does have, is it has its buddies. And it's got a lot of them. And you will get swamped and swarmed fast if you're not careful. Fights with the mutants often leave you exhausted. You'll find yourself out of ammo, out of position, and out of breath. And it gets even worse when some of the mutants are spiders that jump on your face and fucking try to tear off your eyelids. You have to actively peel them off your head or hold them in place so you can shoot them. There's an arachnophobia warning at the beginning of this game, and it's not fucking around with you. And I'm not even an arachnophobe. I swear. Awesome. That's great. I love this. Let me grab the stupid crossbow bolt. Thank you. Where'd the crossbow go? There's also stealth. I guess. It's got some good basic foundations to it, but it really lacks the depth. You get, like, crossbow, some bottles and cans, a suppressed pistol that you find at the very end of the game that doesn't have a lot of ammo, your fists, and a blowpipe. That is all the equipment you get, and you have to figure it out from there. There's not much. There's no fun gizmos or gadgets, no noisemakers, no throwing knife, no, like, tripwires or anything, and that sucks, because stealth in VR is tense. You will find yourself hiding in a dark corridor, with hands that cannot possibly stop shaking, trying to line up the perfect headshot, knowing full well that if it's off just by a pixel and does not make it through the windshield of that man's helmet, then everyone will know you're here. And that is incredible in VR. I'm gonna be real brief here. Or, well, brief when it comes to the overall plot, because the story is good enough to the point where I don't really want to go in depth with it, mainly due to spoilers and such, you know? If you like the story around the river in Last Light and the cult in the Volga and Metro Exodus, then you'll probably like the game's overall story. I do have to say though, the ending was a little disappointing, but that's like saying you're surprised your pet shark ate a toddler. There's one time where it didn't happen, but statistically, it happens quite a bit. There's this one really surprising thing about the story is how well written and how well acted the NPCs are. Especially when the first 3 Metro games really struggled with English dialogue. I'd comment on their original Russian and Ukrainian dialogues, but I don't know either language at all. Also, a quick side note, there is no Russian or Ukrainian option for Metro Awakening because the game was actually written by a Belgian, and there's only English. The way Max as a character is written is really impressive. Like, he really does believably act like a long-time friend with witty banter, interesting motivations, and overall just being fun to listen to, which apparently is hard to do in video games, I guess. In conclusion, I think I would recommend this game to fans of the Metro series who have a VR headset. This game isn't quite good enough to be worth buying a headset over, and there's not enough content to buy a headset over it if you're just getting this game.
Just let me know if you
Like,
hear anything more.
yeah, it's good, and if you're a Metro fan and you have a headset, absolutely, I recommend getting this. But if you aren't a Metro fan, you might not be used to the Eurojank. It's got a good solid foundation for stealth and gameplay and a pretty interesting story and really fantastic art direction. But there's definitely some holes in a lot of different areas, especially when it comes to the gameplay. Even though it's great, it feels a little stretched out and lacking in some areas, which sucks because the main loop is great. As for Vertigo games and the overall atmosphere and immersion of the game, as I was talking about earlier, I would say they did a pretty good job. For a Metro game, it is incredibly immersive, especially when you are physically, your hands are the hands in the game. I feel like that helps a lot, and I have to say, there's some points where the VR absolutely helped in some cases, but I think Vertigo just barely missed the mark. So close. I feel like if they added a little bit more weapon variety, a little bit more Metro-y kind of guns, they would have been there. But I still very highly recommend it. Not the best, but if you like Metro, it's pretty good. Hey y'all, it's your homegirl, Sama Guza, Le Sama de Guza. This isn't, like, this video right now is not a signal of a massive shift in content, because it's not. What I'm planning on doing is keep doing what I'm doing. This channel has always been do whatever the fuck I want, try to get a video out once a month, hope people just watch and enjoy. I will be trying to do more style of this video, but this is definitely not going to be the norm. This is going to be like a every couple of months kind of deal, and every other video will still be like this. In fact, in December, I'm still going to actually release a second video to go along with this. It's going to be a bunch of bonus clips and extra stuff that I didn't get to talk about in this video. This isn't going to be this big of a video every month. This is more or less just like every 3 or 4 months a video like this will probably come out, hopefully. But in the meantime, after this and after the bonus video, I got a little animation coming out that I'm really proud of. So yeah, we should be set for this and January, and hopefully I'll think of something for February. I did record a CS video, but that's going to be a Patreon video. I know, I'm sorry. I'm starting to do Patreon videos now because I figured, you know what, might as well start early, even if you don't have any patrons yet. All right, see you guys later. Gooza out, I guess. I'm gonna goose. Fuck it, that sucks. I'm gonna.